Today we're here at Devon Air Ambulance to get more of an insight into the charity and look at what they do behind the scenes on a day-to-day basis. Devon Air Ambulance is a registered charity and does not get government funding. They have recently launched an app for iPhones, soon to be released for Android too, which give an exact location when trying to find people in an emergency. They have 2 helicopters, one in which they own and the other they lease, and hoping to purchase before the end of this year, which is part of their 5-year plan. Another part of their 5-year plan is to be able to extend operation hours of flying, so the helicopters will be used throughout the night. We speak to Operations Director Nigel Hare and what he does for the charity.
I've been a paramedic on the Air Ambulance since '97, so quite a few years now, and as the Operations Director for the Trust in the last 2 years.
What operations and tasks do you complete in a typical day's work?
The advantages of the job that we do is you never know what you're going for. So 1 minute you might be going to a young baby who's been taken ill, and the next minute you might be dealing with someone who's even over 100 who's had an accident. So over a course of a day, there's no way of predicting it. We attend more medical patients than we do trauma patients. Those are patients who had injuries.
We then got the chance to get up close to the helicopter and interview one of Devon Air Ambulance's paramedics, Becky.
So the pilot sits on the front right there, and the front seat paramedic sits where you're sat now, but obviously facing forward, and that's on the way to a job. So the front seat paramedic assists a pilot with map reading and navigation. We have aids in the front like a GPS and a moving map, and the front seat paramedic is responsible for inputting data like a grid reference postcode into the systems to assist the pilot to get there. So you're working as a team. The paramedic in the back, that will be the clinician for that job, so they'll be thinking about the type of job they're going to. If it's a paediatric, they might be looking at drugs, dosages and things like that. So they're focusing more on the job and thinking about what they're going to, what they're likely to need and things like that.
As the charity rely on public donations, they have opened 12 charity shops in the Devon area, 2 being in Topsham, where Kirstee went to visit.
My name's Martin. I'm the retail manager for the Devon Air Ambulance Trust. I've been working with the Trust for about a year. I'm basically in charge of the fundraising. We've got 12 charity shops and spread all the way around Devon, from Kingsbridge right the way up to Barnstable and everywhere in between. Part of my role is the day-to-day management of the sort of retail function, so all the recruitment and that sort of thing. But also looking for development opportunities that might be through diversifying the way that we use retail to raise money, or completely changing the sort of look of the stores and some of the things that we use in the stores in order to facilitate that money coming through. Well, generally we use the community an awful lot. The Air Ambulance, as you know, is funded independently, so the people of Devon raise the money for the operations within the helicopter. So from the fundraising side, they do an awful lot of work with the community in order to raise that money. For shops specifically, part of the reason we have charity shops obviously is to maintain a revenue stream, but equally as important because Devon's quite a big county, and a lot of those outlying areas where we do a lot of our work don't have any base operations, and Exeter's quite a long way away from the likes of Barnstable and Bideford and Southampton and so on and so forth. So we use our charity shops as a focal point for volunteers and for the fundraising that goes on, particularly in the more rural parts of Devon. Yes, the donations that we receive from a sort of monetary point of view, really that's the stalwart of our fundraising. So things like legacies raise about 22% of our total income. Donations again for the shops, we have a lot that come from those events I was talking about earlier. And from the donation side of things for the shops, the most important part is what we have to sell. So it's not only about monetary donations and raising money in that way. Every single shop that we have is self-sustaining in terms of its donations. So again, the local people really support the sort of stock that we sell and allow us to generate the 10% of the operational cost that we do by selling the stock that was kindly donated to us. This one's been here 9 years.
And it runs as a vintage shop.
This one is specialised, so a lot of our charity shops, in fact the majority of them, the other 11, excuse me, they're pretty traditional charity shops, so go for bric-a-brac and books and women's clothing and that sort of thing. We are looking for ways to diversify and to get different revenue streams, and some of the things we're looking at are perhaps doing pound shops or coffee shops or something a little bit different. This particular shop we branded as a vintage and variety shop, partly because we have 2 shops in Topsham. So we've got the traditional charity shop up the road, and this one's a little bit more specialist, and also because of the area and the sort of area that Topsham is, it's quite an affluent area. It's quite well supported in terms of its donations, and that's allowed us to be a little bit more specific in terms of what we're focusing on. And we're seeing that that's really working for us in terms of the interest and the amount of money that we're taking and so on. So it's definitely worth doing. And lots of ways really. Well, be that the fundraising that we were talking about earlier, donations. We also run a lottery that people can come into the shops or do an online facilitated through head office. All of those things go towards the operational cost of the helicopter. Volunteering, that's a massive part for the organisation, like volunteering for collection boxes, managing the collection boxes throughout the community, volunteering in the shops, all sorts of ways really, donating the stock as well, of course.
We've had a great experience today and learnt in depth about the charity, what they do to raise money and how much hard work they have to put in to keep the charity going. Thanks for your hospitality and hope to see you again soon.